3 in the morning. Your body is exhausted, but your mind won't shut up. You're replaying a conversation from 6 years ago while preparing for one that will never happen. You are solving problems that don't exist and losing sleep over outcomes that haven't happened. Stop. This is not intelligence. This is not awareness. This is a loop. And the most dangerous part? It feels productive. Listen carefully. Your mind is not trying to find answers. It is trying to protect you from action. Because action is risky. Action can fail. But thinking feels safe. So your brain keeps you here, analyzing, replaying, predicting, while your life stays exactly where it is. Overthinking is not who you are. It is a habit. And like every habit, it can be broken. But here's the truth most people never hear. You will not think your way out of overthinking. You escape it the moment you move. Not perfect action, not confident action, just action. Because action breaks the loop. Thinking only feeds it. So if you're ready to stop living inside your head and start moving your life forward, let's begin. Chapter 1. The loop you live in. You wake up before the alarm, not refreshed, not ready, awake because your brain never fully turned off. It was working the entire time you were trying to rest, process, replay, predict, and fear. You open your eyes, and the first thought is already there waiting for you, like a debt collector at the door. This is not living. This is surviving inside your own head. You have learned to function with a constant hum of noise behind your eyes. You smile at people, you answer emails, you hit your deadlines, and underneath all of it, a second conversation is happening. The real one, the one you cannot turn off. The one who questions every word you just said, every choice you just made, and every face that looked at you for a second too long. Stop for a second. Read that again. Is this your life right now? The truth is, you are not lazy, you are not weak, you are not falling behind. You are spending most of your daily energy fighting an invisible war inside your own skull, and there is nothing left over for the life you are actually trying to build. The fuel is being burned in the wrong engine. This is the loop, and the loop has a structure. It does not happen randomly. It follows a pattern so consistent you could set a clock by it. A trigger lands, a small one, a text that was a little too short, a glance from your boss, a memory that surfaced uninvited. Your mind grabs it like a dog grabbing a bone, and it will not let go. It chews, it buries it, it digs it back up, it chews again. You call this thinking. It is not thinking. Thinking has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Thinking produces a conclusion. What you are doing produces nothing. It only produces more of itself. Pause here. Breathe. Notice the difference between thinking and looping. A thought asks a question and waits for an answer. A loop asks the same question 40 different ways and refuses every answer you give it. A thought moves you toward action. A loop paralyzes you in place while making you feel like you're moving. That is the cruelty of it. You feel busy, you feel engaged, you feel like you are working on the problem. And meanwhile, hours of your one short life are vanishing into static. This is where most people stop. They notice the noise, sigh, and decide it is just who they are. They build a personality around it. They call themselves analytical, sensitive, deep, careful. And then they wonder why the years keep passing and the same problems keep repeating, just wearing different clothes. You are not deep. You are drowning. There is a difference. The loop survives because it convinces you it is useful. It whispers that if you just think about this one more time, from one more angle, you will finally find the answer. You will finally feel safe. You will finally be ready. So you give it one more lap and one more. And the finish line moves every time you get close to it, because the loop was never trying to take you anywhere. It was trying to keep you running. Consider this carefully. What if the thing you call carefulness is actually fear in a suit and tie? You did not choose this. Nobody sat you down at 12 years old and taught you how to ruminate. You learnt it. Somewhere along the way, your mind discovered that thinking about a threat felt almost the same as solving it. The chemistry was close enough to fool you. So your brain filed it under survival and started practicing. Years of practice, decades of practice, and now it is the most polished skill you own, and it is killing the version of you that wants to be free. Here is the heavy part. The loop does not love you. It does not protect you. It pretends to. It dresses up as caution and calls itself wisdom. But look at what it has actually delivered. Lost sleep, missed moments, conversations you never started, risks you never took, love you held at arm's length because you were too busy auditing it. The truth is, the life you wanted is on the other side of a mind that knows when to stop. You do not need a new personality. You do not need more information. You do not need another book about anxiety to add to the 7 already on your shelf. You need to see the cage clearly, every bar, every hinge, every lock, because you cannot escape what you refuse to look at directly. Tonight, you are going to look directly. Chapter 2. The cost you stopped counting. Somewhere along the way, you stopped adding it up. The hours, the energy, the relationships that quietly thinned out because you were never fully present in them. You convinced yourself the cost was abstract. It is not. It is precise. It is measurable. And it has been climbing for years while you looked away. Sit with that for a moment. The bill has been growing in silence. Start with your sleep. Count the nights this month you actually slept through, not the ones where you collapsed from exhaustion at 2 in the morning. The ones where you lay down at a reasonable hour, closed your eyes, and rest came easily. If you cannot remember the last time that happened, that is not a quirk, that is damage. Sleep is not a luxury you earn after solving every problem in your head. Sleep is the foundation of every clear decision you will ever make, and you have been bankrupting it for years. Now look at your body, the shoulders that never quite drop, the jaw that locks while you read, the shallow breathing you do not notice until you sigh and realize you have been holding your breath for a while. Your body has been carrying the weight of your mind, and bodies keep an accurate ledger even when minds lie. The truth is, your nervous system has been on shift for so long, it forgot what off feels like. Look at your work. You are intelligent. You know you are. The people around you know you are. So why are you outputting half of what you are capable of? Why does a task that should take an hour take you a full afternoon? Because overthinking taxes every action. You do not just write the email. You write it, delete it, rewrite it, audit it, imagine the reader's face, rewrite it again, and finally send a version that is almost identical to the first one. The cost of every small decision has been multiplied by 10, and you have been paying that tax silently for years. Stop. Picture the hours. Picture what you could have built with them. Look at your relationships. The people who love you have been talking to a version of you that is only half there. The other half is in another room, running calculations. You nod at the right times. You laugh on cue. But you are not in the room. And the people who love you can feel it, even if they cannot name it. They feel the wall. They feel the distance. And slowly, quietly, some of them stop reaching across it. This is where most people stop. They sense the cost is real, get overwhelmed, and decide to think about it later. Later never comes. Later is the favorite address of the overthinking mind. Everything important gets shipped there, and nothing ever arrives. You have to count it now, tonight, in the dark. Look at the opportunities. The job you did not apply for because you spent 3 weeks deciding if you were qualified, and by the time you decided, the listing was closed. The person you did not approach because you wrote 40 versions of the opening line in your head and never said one of them out loud. The trip you did not book, the boundary you did not set, The truth you did not speak, each one a small death, each one filed away under being careful. You were not being careful. You were being captured. Breathe here. This is heavy. Let it be heavy. The lie is what was light. Look at your money. Look at your health. Look at the small projects gathering dust in folders on your computer. Look at the version of yourself you described to a friend 5 years ago, the one you said you were becoming, and ask honestly how much closer you are. Not because you are lazy. You have worked hard. You have worked harder than most, but you have been working uphill with a weight strapped to you that you refused to notice. The cost is not just what overthinking took from you. It is what it convinced you to never reach for. That is the cruelest line in the ledger. The dreams that died before they were born. The versions of your life that never got a chance to exist because you analyzed them out of possibility before you ever took the first step. You did not fail at them. You never let them onto the field. The truth is, you have not been protecting yourself. You have been pre-grieving lives you were too afraid to try to live. And here is the harder part. The cost compounds. Every year you spend in the loop makes the loop stronger. The grooves get deeper. The reflexes get faster. The escape gets harder, but only by a little, and only in a way you can ignore. That is how the years go. One small surrender at a time, each one too small to mourn, until you wake up and realize a decade has passed, and you are still standing in the same room, arguing with the same ghost. You can keep paying this bill. The world will let you. Nobody will stop you. The loop will smile and hand you another invoice tomorrow, and you will pay it, and the day after that, you will pay it again. Or you can do something the loop has never seen before. You can look at it without flinching, without negotiating, and you can begin to understand that the very thing you have trusted to keep you safe is the thing that has been quietly robbing you blind. Because to break a pattern, you first have to see the machine that built it. Chapter 3. The Smart Mind Tax. You were the smart one. The teachers said it. The reports said it. Somewhere in your childhood, your intelligence got pointed out and praised, and you learnt that thinking was your value. Thinking was your safety. Thinking was what made you worth keeping around. So you doubled down on it. You sharpened it. You made it the center of who you are. And now it is eating you alive. There is a tax that comes with a quick mind. Nobody warns you about it. The brochure for being clever leaves it out. The tax is this. The same engine that lets you see 10 moves ahead in a problem also lets you see 10 disasters ahead in your life. The same pattern recognition that makes you good at your job also leaves you exhausted at 3 in the morning because you can see threats in every shadow, including those that do not exist yet. Pause. Read that twice. The blade cuts both ways. The truth is, intelligence without discipline is a weapon pointed at its owner. You think more than other people. That part is real. You catch nuances they miss. You hold contradictions they cannot. You see the second meaning behind the first sentence. These are gifts. But a gift you cannot put down is no longer a gift. It is a burden you happen to be good at carrying. Notice what your mind does in an ordinary moment. Someone says hello, a little flatly. A normal person registers it and moves on. You register it, run it through 6 interpretations, recall the last 3 interactions you had with them, consider whether you offended them, simulate 4 possible conversations to fix it, and then carry that small interaction around with you for the rest of the day, like a stone in your shoe. By dinner time, you are tired, and you cannot explain why. You did nothing all day, and you did everything all day. This is the tax. You pay it in attention. You pay it in energy. You pay it in joy. Sit here for a second. The thing you are proud of has been hurting you. Smart people are especially vulnerable to overthinking because their thoughts feel credible. A dumb thought is easy to dismiss. A clever thought wearing the costume of analysis is almost impossible to ignore. Your mind serves you up a worst-case scenario, complete with footnotes and supporting evidence, and you nod along like it is a research paper. You forget that a well-written sentence about a disaster is still a sentence, not a disaster. You have been mistaking the quality of your fear for its truth. Just because it is articulated beautifully does not make it real. This is where most people stop. They confuse rumination with depth and decide the noise is the price of being thoughtful, so they wear it like a badge. They tell themselves the people who do not overthink are shallow. They build a quiet superiority around their suffering, and they stay in the cage and call the bars decoration. Drop the superiority. It is keeping you sick. Look honestly. Has all this thinking made you wiser or just more tired? Has it solved the central problems of your life, or has it generated new ones to chew on? Has it brought you peace, or has it built a more sophisticated kind of war? If the tool was working, you would not be listening to this. The smart mind has another trick. It convinces you that if you stop thinking about something, you are being irresponsible. That worry equals love. That rumination equals preparation. That suffering in advance somehow earns you protection from future suffering. None of this is true. The universe does not give discounts to people who prepaid in anxiety. Disasters do not arrive softer because you imagined them first. You just lived through them twice. Stop. Let that one land. You lived through them twice for no reward. The smart mind also confuses motion with progress. You read another book on anxiety. You watch another video. You learn another framework. You stack knowledge upon knowledge until your shelf is heavy and your life remains unchanged. Because information is not the medicine. You already know enough. You have known enough for years. The problem was never a missing concept. The problem is the gap between knowing and doing, and that gap is where overthinking lives. Building a house, paying rent on time, never leaving. The truth is, you do not have an information problem. You have a usage problem. Your intelligence is not your enemy. It is a horse, a powerful one, bred for speed, trained for endurance. The problem is that nobody taught you how to put the bridle on, so the horse runs wherever it wants, sometimes through fields, often through fire. And you, on its back, holding nothing, calling the chaos a personality. You need the reins, not a smaller horse, not a different horse. The reins. Discipline is the reins. Discipline is not the opposite of intelligence. It is what makes intelligence useful instead of dangerous. Without discipline, a smart mind is a fast car with no brakes, and you do not need anyone to tell you what happens at the end of that road. You have spent years sharpening the blade. You have not spent equal time learning to sheath it. That ends now. Because the next thing you have to face is the most uncomfortable one. The loop does not just happen to you. At some level, you have been feeding it. You have been mistaking the feeding for the solving. And until you see exactly how, you will keep handing it the keys to your life. Chapter 4. The Hidden Reward of Worry. This is the part nobody wants to hear. Sit with it anyway. You keep overthinking because somewhere inside it is paying you. Not in peace, not in clarity, but in something. A small hidden wage that has kept you on the job for years. If overthinking gave you nothing at all, you would have quit a long time ago. You did not quit. So look at what the job has been paying. Breathe. This one is going to sting. The first hidden wage is the illusion of control. When you ruminate about something, you feel like you are doing something about it. The thinking feels like action. The simulating feels like preparation. Your brain rewards you with a small dose of relief every time you run another lap, because, for a moment, the chaos feels manageable. You did not fix the problem. You just convinced yourself that it cannot ambush you, because you have already imagined every angle of attack. The truth is, the imagined ambush hurts you more than the real one ever would. The second wage is identity. Overthinking has become part of how you describe yourself, the careful one, the deep one, the one who really feels things, the one who notices what others miss. Pull that thread, and the fear underneath is sharp. If you stop overthinking, who are you? What replaces it? You have built a self on top of this loop, and asking you to drop the loop feels like asking you to drop yourself. So you keep it, even as it bleeds you. Stop here. Notice the grip. Notice how tightly you hold the thing that hurts. The third wage is avoidance. As long as you are thinking about your life, you do not have to live it. As long as you are analyzing the decision, you do not have to make it. As long as you are preparing, you are not exposed. Overthinking is one of the most socially acceptable forms of hiding. Nobody calls you a coward for being thoughtful. Nobody questions you for needing more time. You can stay frozen for years, and people will call it prudence. You are not being prudent. You are being protected from a life you secretly fear you cannot handle. The fourth wage is moral cover. If you suffer enough in advance, you feel like you have earned something, like the universe owes you a softer outcome because you paid the toll up front in worry. You convince yourself that caring this much makes you a good person, a serious person, a responsible person. So the rumination becomes a kind of penance, performed nightly, in exchange for an absolution that never comes. The universe does not run on this currency. Nobody is keeping score the way you are. This is where most people stop. They sense the payoff is real and immediately feel ashamed. They think it means they want to suffer. They do not. You do not want the suffering. You want the small reward hidden inside the suffering, and you have not yet found another way to get it. That is not weakness. That is being human. But understanding it is where freedom begins. Look at this gently. Shame will not unhook you. Honesty will. Ask yourself the question that the loop does not want you to ask. What would I have to feel if I stopped thinking about this? Not what would I have to do, what would I have to feel, because under every loop is an emotion the loop is helping you avoid. Grief you have not let yourself sit with, anger you were taught not to show, fear of an outcome you do not believe you can survive. The thinking is the lid on the pot. Take it off, and the steam comes up. So you keep the lid on, and the pot keeps cooking, and you keep wondering why you feel burned all the time. The truth is, you have been outrunning a feeling rather than solving a problem. Notice this in your body. When the loop starts, where does it live? In your chest? Your stomach? Your throat? That place is not the problem. That place is the message. Your nervous system is trying to tell you something, and your mind keeps interrupting it with words, endless words, brilliant words, words designed to drown out the signal underneath. Pause. Put your hand on the place. Listen instead of talking back. There is something almost holy about the moment you stop overthinking long enough to feel what is actually there. It is uncomfortable, it is unfamiliar, but it is real. And real is the thing you have been starving for, even as you fed yourself an unlimited buffet of thoughts. Here is the heavy line. The cure is not more thinking. The cure is the feeling you have been thinking your way around. You do not have to drown in it. You do not have to schedule a breakdown. You just have to stop for a moment and let the wave move through, instead of sending more thoughts to block it. Waves move through when you stop fighting them. They always have. They will with you too. The loop has been a friend in disguise, a loyal one, a devoted one. It has stood between you and the parts of yourself you were afraid to meet. Honor that, then thank it, then begin, slowly, to let it go, because you no longer need a bodyguard against your own heart. You are old enough now. You are strong enough now. You can stand in your own life without a wall of noise around you, but standing there takes a new skill, one you were never taught, and learning it is where the real work begins. Chapter 5. The Anatomy of a Spiral. It always starts small. That is the part you forget. By the time you notice the spiral, You are already 3 floors down, and you think it appeared out of nowhere. It did not. It had a beginning. It had a doorway. You walked through it without seeing it, the way you walk through your own kitchen, without noticing the layout. Slow down. Look at the doorways. A spiral begins with a trigger. The trigger is almost always small, a facial expression, a short reply, a bill in the mail, a piece of news, a memory that surfaces as you brush your teeth. The trigger itself is not the problem. People without spirals encounter the same triggers every day and walk past them. The trigger is just the match. The match is not the fire. What turns the match into a fire is the second step, interpretation. Within a fraction of a second, your mind assigns meaning to the trigger. It does not check, it does not ask, it decides, and the meaning it assigns is almost always weighted toward threat. Your boss sent a short message, interpretation. You are about to be fired. Your friend did not text back, interpretation. They are pulling away. Your chest feels tight. Interpretation. Something is seriously wrong. The truth is, you do not react to your life. You react to your interpretation of your life. Pause here. That sentence is the doorway to most of your suffering. The third step is escalation. Once the interpretation is in place, your body responds. Heart rate climbs a little, breathing shortens, cortisol releases. Your nervous system, faithful as a dog, says, yes, you must be in danger, and prepares you for war. Now you are physically primed. And a primed body sends more alarm signals to the mind, which interprets them as further evidence that the original interpretation was correct. The body and the mind start lying to each other, very politely, in a closed loop. This is how a 5-second trigger becomes a 5-hour spiral. The fourth step is recruitment. Your mind, now convinced something is wrong, starts pulling in evidence to support the story. Every old memory that vaguely matches gets summoned. Every past failure, every previous rejection, every fear you thought you had retired. They all line up like witnesses in a courtroom, and the verdict is already written. You are not analyzing, you are prosecuting yourself in absentia, and you are also the only juror. Stop. Picture this courtroom. Notice that you have been the prosecutor and the defendant for years. The fifth step is the loop itself. The mind, having built a case, begins to circle. It does not draw a conclusion. It cannot, because the conclusion would require action, and the entire structure exists to avoid action. So instead, it reruns the same arguments at slightly different angles. New evidence appears. Old evidence is reweighed. You feel like you are making progress, but you are walking in a circle, leaving deeper footprints in the same dust. The sixth step is exhaustion. Eventually, the body cannot keep firing alarm signals at full strength. It dims. You feel numb, empty, hollow. You mistake the exhaustion for resolution. You think the spiral ended because you solved something. You did not solve anything. You simply ran out of fuel. And the next time a match is struck, the fire will start in a body already weakened by the last one. This is where most people stop. They name the spiral after it ends and call themselves anxious. They never go back and study the doorway, so they keep walking through it. Years pass. Doorway, doorway, doorway. Each one feels like fate. Each one was a choice point they did not see. You are going to learn to see them now. Look at your last spiral. Really look. What was the original trigger? Not the story your mind told, the actual sensory input. A voice tone, a sentence, a glance. Strip it back to the smallest possible fact. You will be surprised how small it is. The cause is always smaller than the effect. That is the nature of fire. Now look at the interpretation you assigned. Notice it was not the only possible one. There were dozens of other interpretations available, most of them neutral, some of them positive. Your mind, in its old habit, selected the one most likely to confirm an existing fear. It did not do this to hurt you. It did this because that pattern is the most practiced one. The most practiced thought always wins. Always. The truth is, you have been training a marksman to shoot at you every day and then asking why you keep bleeding. Here is the leverage point. You cannot always control the trigger. The world will keep doing what it does. You cannot fully control the body's first reaction. Biology is faster than will. But the interpretation, that is the gap. That is the small, unguarded second between the match and the fire. And in that second, you have power you have not been using. Pause. Let that be heavy. There is a gap. You have not been using it. The gap is where discipline lives. The gap is where every spiral can be ended before it begins. Not by suppressing the thought, not by arguing with it, by inserting one different action, one different question, one different breath in that small, unguarded moment. The spiral needs your full cooperation to grow. Withdraw cooperation, and the fire has nothing to feed on. You do not have to be free of triggers. You have to be free of automatic interpretations. That is a smaller, more honest goal. And it is the doorway to everything that comes next. Because seeing the spiral is not enough. You have to learn how to interrupt it. And interruption is a skill, not a wish. Chapter 6. Pattern interrupts. The mind that built the loop will not dismantle the loop. This is the first hard rule. You cannot think your way out of a thinking problem. You have been trying for years. You are very good at it. You have failed every single time because the exit is not in the room you are searching for. The exit is in the body. Stop here. Read it again. The exit is in the body. A pattern interrupt is not a clever idea. It is not a better thought. It is not a more sophisticated reframe. A pattern interrupt is a physical action you take in the small, unguarded second between the trigger and the spiral. It is a deliberate intrusion into a process that has run on autopilot for years. It does not have to be elegant. It just has to break the rhythm. The truth is, your mind cannot loop while your body is doing something new. Try this one tonight. The next time you feel the spiral start, the moment you catch it, stand up. Do not wait to finish the thought. Do not negotiate with yourself. Stand, move your body to a different physical location. Walk to a window. Walk to a sink. Splash cold water on your face. The cold water is not magic. It is information. New information your nervous system has to process, which interrupts the old information it was about to amplify. For 10 seconds, the loop has competition, and 10 seconds is enough to weaken the spell. Pause. Picture yourself doing it. The reluctance you feel is the loop protesting. Here is another. Breath. Not the breathing exercises you have read about in 8 different books. One specific one. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 8. Twice as long out as in. The long exhale is the signal your nervous system listens to. It is the only voluntary action you can take that directly signals to your body that the threat is over. Do it 5 times, slowly, eyes open, spine straight. Your mind will resist because the loop needs oxygen and you are depriving it. You are not running from your thoughts. You are starving them. Here is another. Naming. Out loud. When the spiral starts, say what is happening in plain language. I am about to overthink this. I am about to spend an hour on a problem I cannot solve at this moment. Do not whisper. Speak. The mind in a loop hates being observed. The moment you put words to it, from a position outside it, you create distance. And distance is everything. You cannot fight the loop from inside the loop. You can fight it from one step back. This is where most people stop. They learn one interrupt, try it twice, fail because the loop is stronger than their first attempt, and conclude that the tools do not work. The tools work. Your application was thin. A loop built over 20 years does not collapse the 3rd time you tell it no. It collapses on the 400th. You have to mean it, every day, quietly, without applause. Discipline is doing the same small interrupt long enough that the loop stops bothering to start. Here is another. The 5-minute rule. When you catch yourself spiraling, look at a clock. Promise yourself that in 5 minutes you will either take one concrete action toward the actual problem or deliberately set it aside until tomorrow. 5 minutes, no more. The spiral wants infinity. You are offering it a deadline. Most spirals cannot survive a deadline because their entire power comes from the assumption that there is unlimited time to keep chewing. Time pressure is the loop's allergy. Use it. Here is another. The single-sentence task. Pick one physical, undeniable action you can complete in under 2 minutes. Wash one dish, make the bed, send one email, tie your shoes and walk to the corner. The act must be small enough that the loop cannot talk you out of it. Completion is the medicine. Every completed action, no matter how small, sends a signal to your nervous system that you are an agent, not a victim. You are someone who can finish things. You are someone the body should trust. The truth is, your nervous system follows your evidence, not your words. Breathe here. You have been giving it the wrong evidence for years. Here is the deepest interrupt. Silence. Literal silence. Sit in a chair. Put your phone in another room. Set a timer for 2 minutes. No music, no podcast, no book, no screen. Just you, the chair, and the noise in your head, with nowhere to redirect. The first time you do this, you will hate it. The loop will scream. Your hand will reach for the phone 12 times. Do not give in. 2 minutes. That is the whole assignment. And then a little longer tomorrow. And a little longer the day after that. Silence is the gym for your attention. Most people will not do this. Most people will read this, nod, and pick up the phone within 90 seconds. You are not most people, or at least you do not have to be. Tonight, you can be the one who actually does the small uncomfortable thing, instead of consuming more information about it. Information has not saved you. Action will. This is where most people stop. They want a perfect protocol. They want the interrupts ranked. They want certainty before they begin. There is no perfect protocol. There is only practice. Pick one. Use it tomorrow. Then use it the day after. The interrupt is not a magic word. It is a muscle. Muscles are built by repetition you do not feel like doing. The truth is, you will not feel motivated. You will feel resistance. Do it anyway. You are not breaking the loop in one heroic battle. You are starving it across 1,000 small, ordinary moments. Every time you choose the breath over the spiral, the loop loses a meal. Every time you choose to stand up over sitting and stewing, the loop loses a meal. Hunger eventually changes any creature. It will change this one too. But interruptions alone are not the destination. They are the door. What you do after you walk through it is what builds the next version of you. And that requires understanding the difference between thinking and doing in a way you have never been forced to understand it before. Chapter 7. Action over analysis. The loop dies in motion. Write that on the inside of your skull. The loop dies in motion, not in motion that looks like motion, the kind that is actually more thinking with extra steps. Motion that costs you something, motion that risks an outcome, motion that produces a result the world can see. You have been confusing the rehearsal for the performance. Stop. Sit with that. You have been rehearsing your life. Analysis is rehearsal, endless rehearsal. You walk through the conversation in your head, again and again, perfecting every line, anticipating every response, blocking every counter-argument, and then the curtain never rises. You never have the conversation. The play closes before opening night. You go to bed exhausted from a show no audience ever saw. This is the great trick of the modern mind. It makes you feel like you are doing the thing while you are doing nothing at all. The simulation feels like the action. The planning feels like the building. The studying feels like the doing. And in a culture that worships preparation, you can spend an entire lifetime preparing for a life you never actually live. The truth is, the cost of one imperfect action is always less than the cost of one more month of perfect planning. You know this. You have always known this. The people you admire are not the ones with the best thoughts. They are the ones with the most completed actions. They are not smarter than you. In many cases, they are less smart than you. They simply do not let the smartness stop them. They have learned a secret you have been resisting. The decision matters less than the movement. A bad decision executed cleanly will teach you more than a perfect decision held in your head for a year. Pause. Read that twice. Movement teaches. Stillness only theorizes. Action is the answer to overthinking, because action gives the mind something it cannot get any other way. Feedback. Real feedback from the world, not from the simulation. When you act, the world responds. The response is data. The data is honest. It does not care about your story. It just tells you what happened. And what happened is always smaller, simpler, and more workable than what you imagined. The thing you feared rarely arrives, and when it does, it is almost always smaller than the version your mind built for you in advance. This is where most people stop. They agree with everything you just heard, in theory, and then they go back to their lives and find one more reason to wait, one more book to read, one more course to take, one more conversation to plan. The trap of the smart mind is that it can always justify one more day of preparation, always. There is no problem that cannot be reanalyzed. There is no decision that cannot be reweighed. There is always another angle, always. That is the problem. The angles are infinite. Your life is not. Look at your hands. Look at your age. Look at the years you have left, honestly. There is no version of this story in which you outthink mortality. The clock does not slow down because you have a complicated relationship with action. It just keeps moving. And every day you spend rehearsing is a day removed from the only stage you actually have. Breathe. Let the urgency in. Urgency is not the enemy. Drift is. So here is the new rule. Imperfect action over perfect inaction. Always, in every domain. The email that is good enough sent today beats the perfect email sitting in drafts forever. The awkward conversation we had today beats the eloquent monologue that lives only in your head. The sloppy workout beats the program you researched for 3 months but never started. The book chapter in the rough first draft beats the brilliant book you have been outlining for a decade. You do not need better thoughts. You need lower thresholds for action. Lower the threshold, aggressively. Make the bar so low you cannot fail to cross it. Do you want to start writing? The threshold is 1 sentence a day, not a chapter. 1 sentence. Do you want to start running? The threshold is putting on the shoes, not finishing a route. The shoes. Do you want to fix a relationship? The threshold is 1 honest sentence sent to that person, not the whole conversation. 1 sentence. The mind in a loop cannot sabotage a threshold this small. It is not big enough to argue with. This is where the loop loses, not in a grand moment, in a series of small, undefendable actions, each one too tiny to overthink, each one completed before the mind has a chance to set up its courtroom. You are not asking your mind for permission. You are training your mind to follow. The truth is, you do not lead with your thoughts. You lead with your actions. Thoughts follow actions far more often than the reverse. You stand up first. The mood adjusts second. You start the task first. The motivation arrives third. You speak first. The confidence catches up fourth. The order has always been the opposite of what you were taught. Stop. Let that flip in your head. Action first. Feeling follows. There will be days when this is harder. Days when the threshold feels insurmountable. On those days the rule is simple. Lower it further. If one sentence is too much, write one word. If one word is too much, open the document. The size of the action is irrelevant. The unbroken streak of action is everything. You are not building output, you are building identity. The identity of someone who moves. And someone who moves cannot stay in a loop. The two are physically incompatible. You will fail to move sometimes. You will skip days. That is fine. The skipped day is not the problem. The story you tell yourself about the skipped day is the problem. The loop wants the skip to mean you are back to square one. The skip means nothing. You just start again, quietly, without ceremony, the next day, and the next, until the moving is more familiar than the looping. That is when something deeper begins to change, not just your behavior, the very pattern of attention you bring to your life, because a mind that has tasted movement loses its appetite for the rehearsal. Chapter 8. The Discipline of Silence. There is a sound underneath the noise. You have heard it a few times in your life, by accident, after a long walk, after a hard workout, in the second between waking and remembering. It is not a sound exactly, it is the absence of one, and it is the most foreign country your mind has ever visited. You are going to learn to go there on purpose. Slow down. This chapter will move slower than the rest. Match the pace. Silence is not the absence of sound. Silence is the absence of commentary. You can be in a silent room with a screaming mind, and you are not in silence. You can be on a crowded train with a still mind, and you are. The silence you need is not external. It cannot be bought, downloaded, or scheduled. It can only be practiced. And practice is the word most people flinch from. The truth is, you have practiced noise every day for decades, without noticing, without trying. You wake up and reach for the phone. You eat with a screen on. You walk with headphones in. You shower while planning the day. You drive while replaying conversations. You go to sleep while consuming one more video. Every single moment of your life has been chaperoned by input. The mind has never been alone with itself, except briefly, in the dark, when the input runs out and the loop takes over. You are starving for silence and afraid of it at the same time. Pause. Notice this. You crave it and you avoid it. Both are true. Here is why. Silence is where the loop's lies become visible. Inside the noise, every thought feels reasonable because there is no contrast. Inside silence, the thoughts stand out against a blank background, and you can finally see them for what they are. Small, repetitive, often petty, almost always familiar. You realize you have been thinking the same 15 thoughts on rotation for years. You realize most of your mind is not a wise advisor. Most of your mind is a worried roommate, pacing the same hallway, muttering the same complaints. That realization is uncomfortable. It is also the beginning of freedom. You cannot break a loop you cannot see clearly. Noise blurs the edges. Silence draws them in sharp lines. The discipline of silence is the discipline of letting your mind be visible to you, finally, without the soundtrack. Start small. 5 minutes a day. No music, no podcast, no phone, no book. Just you, breathing in a chair. Eyes open or closed, your choice. The thoughts will come. Let them come. Do not chase them. Do not fight them. Do not feed them. Watch them the way you would watch traffic from a high window. Cars pass. Cars pass. None of them require you to get in. This is where most people stop. They try this for 3 days, hate it, and decide it does not work. It does work. You just have not done it long enough for the work to begin. The first weeks are not the practice. The first weeks are the entrance fee. The practice starts after that, when sitting in silence no longer feels like an emergency. Discipline is paying the entrance fee. No one applauds you for paying. There is another silence beyond the formal sitting. The silence you keep in your day. The pause before you reply. The breath before you defend yourself. The moment of nothing before you offer your opinion. Most of your suffering has been delivered by you, to you, in the half-second between stimulus and response, when an automatic reaction is mistaken for a true one. Silence in that half-second is the most powerful discipline you can build. The truth is, most of what you wanted to say in the last 10 years did not need to be said. Sit with that. Most of the words were not for the world, they were for the loop. When you build silence into your day, things start to thin out. Conversations get shorter, texts get sparser, reactions get slower and more measured. People notice. Some are unsettled by it. The ones who like the noisy version of you may not like the quiet one. That is information. You do not owe your old volume to anyone. The quieter you become, the more you can hear what is actually being said, including by yourself. And what you hear from yourself, in real silence, is often surprising. Underneath the loop, there is usually a much simpler voice. It does not catastrophize. It does not predict. It does not negotiate. It says things like, I am tired, I am hungry, I am hurt, I miss them, I want to start, I want to stop. The voice is plain, it is honest, it is yours. It has been speaking the entire time, but you could not hear it over the static of the loop's elaborate productions. The discipline of silence is how you find that voice again. The voice is the part of you the loop was hired to protect, badly, by drowning it. You do not need protection from your own voice. You need a relationship with it. You need to give it 5 quiet minutes a day to say what it has been trying to say. Pause. Imagine being known to yourself again, not analyzed, known. Silence is also where your decisions get clear. You cannot make a real decision in a noisy mind. You can only choose between competing fears. A real decision comes from stillness, where you can feel which option pulls you towards something real, and which option is just the loop wearing a different costume. People who make hard decisions well are not smarter. They are quieter inside. They have practiced silence enough that they can hear the difference between fear and direction. The truth is, you have been making decisions inside a storm and wondering why they keep blowing apart. You will not become a silent person. You do not need to. You just need a quieter center, a room inside you that the noise cannot enter without being noticed, a place you can return to day after day that does not require any external conditions to exist. That room is built by minutes, many of them, stacked over years. There is no shortcut, and there need not be. The years were going to pass anyway. You can spend them on a louder version of the loop, or on building a room. Build the room, quietly, without telling anyone for a while, and let the building of it begin to shift something deeper than your habits. Because what changes next is not what you do. It is who you are when no one is watching. Chapter 9. The person who does not spiral. There is a version of you that does not live in this, a version that wakes up, drinks water, starts the day, and is off the bed within 5 minutes. Not because that version is happier than you, not because that version has fewer problems, because that version has stopped renting space in their own head to thoughts that do not pay rent. Picture this version, carefully, without flinching. Slow down. This chapter is about identity, and identity moves slowly. For most of your life, you have been told that change starts with what you do. Build habits, take action, stack wins. All of that is true, and you have been hearing the action chapters in this book for a reason. But there is a deeper layer. Beneath what you do is who you believe you are, and the belief about who you are is the silent governor of every loop you have ever run. You overthink because you have decided you are an overthinker, not consciously, but somewhere the label was accepted, and once accepted, every behavior was recruited to match it. Identity is gravity. It pulls behavior toward itself, every day, without your consent. The truth is, you cannot outbehave an identity you have not updated. Stop. Read that twice. Identity is the governor. Behavior follows it. You have spent years acting as if your identity is the result of your behaviors. Do more good things. Become a good person. There is some truth in that, especially at the start. But the deeper move is the reverse. Decide who you are. Then let the behaviors flow downhill from that decision. The behaviors get easier when the identity is settled. They get harder when the identity is still in dispute. So who are you? Not the brand, not the resume, not the bio. The internal answer, the one you give yourself in the dark, when no one is watching. Be honest. If the honest answer is that I am someone who spirals, then every interruption and every silent minute will be fighting upstream against a self-image that is quietly working to bring you back into the loop. The image will win if you do not change it, so change it. Begin to refer to yourself differently, in your own head, carefully, quietly, not with hype, not with affirmations stolen from somebody else, with one true sentence. Try this one. I am the kind of person who can sit with a thought without obeying it. Say it once. Let it land. Do not insist on believing it. Just place it. This is where most people stop. They try to leap to a grand new identity and feel like a fraud within 10 minutes. The fraud feeling is correct. You cannot leap. You can only place one small, accurate sentence at a time, and then act in small ways like that sentence is true. Action confirms identity. Identity then makes more action easier. The loop in reverse. Pause. Notice that you are building a loop, a different one. The person you are becoming does not have a better mind. They have a different relationship with their mind. They have learnt the most important phrase in this entire book. Just because I thought it does not mean it is true. They can entertain a thought without arresting themselves for it. They can hear the worst-case scenario and not move into it as a tenant. They can notice the spiral begin and choose in that small, unguarded second not to go down the stairs. They do not always succeed. They are not enlightened. They still have nights when the old machinery starts running. But the machinery no longer defines them. It is a weather pattern. It passes. They have a roof now. The roof is identity. The weather no longer soaks them through. The truth is, the goal was never to never spiral again. The goal was to no longer be defined by the spiral. Sit with that. The expectation of perfection has been part of the trap. You are going to spiral again. You will. The day after tomorrow, probably. And when it happens, the loop will whisper that you are back to square one, that all this work was for nothing, that you were a fool to think you could change. None of that will be true. A spiral is not a verdict. It is a weather event. You will use one of the interrupts, however clumsily. You will sit in 5 minutes of silence, however imperfectly, and you will get up the next day and do the work again, because that is what the new identity does. The new identity is not someone who never falls. It is someone who does not stay down. Notice how that lowers the pressure. You do not have to be repaired. You have to be in the practice. The practice is the person. The person is the practice. The two are not separate. You are not waiting to arrive somewhere. You are already in it, the moment you do one small thing differently and let it shape what you call yourself. Begin to speak of yourself in the tense of becoming, quietly, in your own private language. I am becoming a steadier person than I used to be. I am becoming a person who lets a thought pass through. I am becoming a person who acts before analyzing. These sentences are not lies. They are accurate descriptions of trajectory. You are not pretending to be there. You are honestly naming the direction of your steps. The truth is, you do not have to feel new to be new. You have to act new. The feeling catches up. Breathe. Let the pressure of total reinvention fall off your shoulders. There is something else that happens at this stage. You start to lose interest in the loop, not because you are stronger than it, because it bores you. The same 15 thoughts, on the same 15 tracks, with the same 15 endings. You start to notice it is repetitive in a way you did not see before. You see the script, and once you see the script, the play loses some of its grip. You can still watch it. You just stop applauding. The discipline of becoming is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not need anyone else to validate it. You will not get a certificate when your identity shifts. You will simply notice, on a random Tuesday, that something that used to take you all day to recover from takes only 20 minutes. You will notice that you laughed without first running it through committee. You will notice that you slept through the night, and the first thought of the morning was about the day in front of you, not the day 6 years behind you. That is the marker, not fanfare. A quieter life lived inside a quieter head. But quiet is not the same as empty, and what fills the space the loop used to occupy is the last thing you have to understand before this work is yours to keep. Chapter 10. Mental peace is a decision. You have been waiting to feel ready, to feel peaceful, to feel like the work is done, waiting for some final moment of arrival, where the noise lifts and the air clears, and you finally get to be the person you have been trying to become. That moment is not coming, not the way you have been picturing it. Mental peace is not delivered. It is decided, daily, in small, unspectacular choices made before you feel like making them. Slow down. Let that settle. Look at every example of a calm person you have ever known. The genuinely calm ones, not the performatively calm, not the dissociated, the ones with steady eyes, slow breath, and an unhurried voice. None of them got that way because their life got easier. Their life is not easier than yours. They get bills. They lose people. They face the same gravity you face. The difference is internal. They decided at some point that they would no longer add to their suffering. They would not pre-suffer. They would not post-suffer. They would meet the actual moment in front of them and let the rest go. The truth is, peace is not a feeling that arrives. Peace is a discipline you practice. Stop. Read that again. Peace is a discipline. You have been treating peace like a reward, something the universe owes you after you have solved enough problems. So you keep solving, and the bill never comes due. Because the universe does not run a rewards program. Peace was never going to be paid out. It was always going to be claimed. You claim it the same way you claim anything else worth having, by choosing it badly at first, over and over, until the choosing becomes a default. Choosing it when your mind wants to chew. Choosing it when something happens that justifies a full spiral and would be understood by anyone watching. Choosing it not because the situation is small, but because you have decided that your one short life will not be paid out to the loop one more day. This is where most people stop. They want peace to be the absence of stressors. It is not. Stressors are permanent residents of being alive. Peace is not the absence of waves. Peace is the boat you have built to ride them. The boat is your discipline. The boat is your interruptions. The boat is your silence. The boat is your identity. The boat is the relationship you have built with your own mind across all the work that came before this chapter. Pause. Picture the boat. You have been building it, sentence by sentence, whether you realized it or not. There will still be storms. The boat does not stop the storms, but you will no longer be in the water, gasping every time the weather turns. You will be in something built, something yours, something the loop cannot get inside, because you do not let it pilot anymore. The decision of peace is made in 3 places. First, in the morning, before the phone, before the news, before the calendar. 2 minutes of silence, however imperfect. 1 slow breath that you actually feel. 1 sentence said quietly to yourself, in honest language, naming the kind of person you are becoming. That is the deposit. Make it before the world makes its withdrawals. Second, in the spiral. The moment you catch it starting, you choose not whether to spiral. You catch it too late for that. You choose whether to feed it. You choose whether to stand up, breathe out, name what is happening. Take the one small action. The loop expected your cooperation. You are no longer providing it. That is the second deposit. Tiny in the moment, enormous over a year. Third, at night, before the lights go out. One honest sentence about the day. Not a performance review, not a list of failures. One true sentence. I tried, I rested, I spoke up, I let something go. One sentence to close the day cleanly, instead of leaving it open for the loop to come edit it at 3 in the morning. The night is when the loop has always feasted. You are taking the kitchen back. The truth is, 3 small deposits a day, made for 1 year, will rebuild your interior more deeply than any breakthrough you are still hoping for. Breathe. There is no breakthrough coming. There is only this, compounded, quietly, for a long time. You will not feel like a different person on most days. The change is too gradual to feel from the inside. You will only notice it in retrospect, when you encounter a situation that would have wrecked you a year ago, and find yourself moving through it with a steadiness you did not announce, did not have to summon, did not need to perform. That is what mental peace actually looks like. Not glow, not euphoria. Steadiness, unannounced, internal, yours. This is the part the loop cannot follow you into. The loop needs your attention. Your peace will not give it any more than is necessary. The loop will still knock. It will knock for years. You do not have to throw it out. You only have to stop opening the door at every knock. Eventually, it knocks less, and then, on most days, it does not knock at all. The truth is, you will not become someone who never thinks too much. You will become someone whose thinking serves them instead of the other way around. Stop here. That is the whole arc. Thinking that serves you, not thinking that owns you. You did not come this far to keep paying rent in your own head. You came this far to live in it, to use it, to rest in it, to make decisions from it, rather than be made by it. The mind is supposed to be a workshop, not a prison. You are putting up shelves. You are sweeping the floor. You are opening the window for the first time in years. There is light in here. There always was. The loop just kept the curtains drawn. Pull them open, slowly, without ceremony. Today is a fine day for it. The work is not finished. It will not be. The practice is the life. The life is the practice. You have everything you need. You have always had everything you need. You just stop trusting yourself to use it without first asking the loop for permission. The loop never gave permission. It was never going to. So you give it to yourself, now in the quiet, where no one is watching and no one needs to. Begin tomorrow, smaller than you think, truer than you have been, and do not look back at the version of you who could not do this. That version was not wrong. That version was tired. That version got you here. Thank them, quietly, and walk on. You made it to the end, which means something already shifted. Not everything, but enough, because now you see it. The loop, the hesitation, the endless thinking that felt like progress but never moved you forward. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That is where change begins. Listen carefully. Your life will not change just because you listen to this audiobook. It will change the moment you act on it, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when you're more confident, because that moment will never come. Clarity does not come before action. Clarity comes from action. So when this ends, your mind will try again. It will tell you to wait, to think a little more, to be a little more sure. And this time, you will recognize it. And instead of going back into the loop, you will move, even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, because now you know. Action is the exit, and every time you choose movement over overthinking, you take your life back. This is where most people stop, but you won't, because you're not trying to understand your life anymore, you're ready to live it. Now go, take the first step, and break the loop.